I can't hear you.
Hi, thank you for logging on to Aiko and the Psycho. Today's a special edition of Psycho. We're going to be talking about Roe Vs Wade and the Supreme Court decision to overturn
Stop
that
talking. You're
the
still
rules.
playing the video.
On top of that, Psycho, take it away.
Oh, oh shit. Oh. Hi, it's Psycho. I got a little confused, y'all. I'm so sorry. This is the first Just Psycho edition, so I am learning. So bear with our oopsies and stuff. Thank you to Ewok Nation for the beautiful introduction. Today is June 24th, 2022. I'm wishing it was January because it's a hot where I'm at.
Oh yeah,
Anywho,
it's hot.
it is. It is a hot. I feel like I'm in the pits of hell. Anywho, with all that being said, the weather is atrocious. Glad y'all chose to join us. I'd like to introduce Ewok Nation. This is actually my son. Thank you so much for helping me get up a Just Psycho edition. I appreciate it very much. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Ewok. I sit politically hard to define space. I do like having open discourse with people that even I disagree with. I don't believe anyone should, be yelling over anyone else. I'm really interested in starting this podcast with Psycho and Aiko, and I think it's a good thing. On top of that, I want to break into what's going on right now. The pro-choice extremist groups are vowing to take action as tensions run higher as usual. Now, what this could mean is, like, are they going to do a January 6th type of thing? And are they going to get charged for it? Because if I think you were telling me earlier today, Psycho, that the Antifa people were getting off scot-free.
Yep, all charges on every Antifa that was involved in the rioting May 2020. Every charge that they had was dismissed. Yeah, that's our government for you. Yeah, the J6 Capitol breachers, the trespassers who trespassed are still in jail, incarcerated, being treated inhumanely, not being allowed access to evidence, their lawyers, not being allowed to be around their families, held in solitary confinement for extreme amount of times, and being denied their basic human rights. They're sitting in prison still. So explain that to me. Explain to me how it's okay to burn down cities because you didn't like something they did, but it's not okay to trespass on the Capitol grounds. And this is getting to the point where I feel that people who identify on the left are being persecuted, not prosecuted, folks. I said it right the first time. Persecuted. They are being persecuted. I do not at all condone trespassing into the Capitol building. That should not have happened. However, if you look at the videos that are coming out and have been released already, you see Capitol Police literally ushering them in. So explain that. Why aren't those police officers sitting in the gulag then with our J6 defendants? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The only death that happened as a result of that was the murder of Ashley Babbitt
Yep.
by a Capitol police officer, and he was completely exonerated. Go figure. An unarmed woman who wasn't even through the window. I saw watch the video on the J6 on how they murdered her. He assassinated her. He did not defend himself against her. She was on the other side of a door. He shot her through a window.
Hey, Psycho.
Explain to me how that is defensible.
That's not defensible. And let's talk about the fact that their tax money pays for that to begin with. So I just think the whole J6 is a witch hunt. They're going to burn everyone at the stake just to make a statement that, we're the government, we're in control, and you guys have no power over this. When, in fact, in our Constitution, we do have power over it. They just kind of want to turn the American people off politically, and we're seeing this now. And on top of that, President Joe Biden's actually experiencing some blowback because of the decision from the left.
That's never been done to a right so important to
sorry. pro-life users on Twitter were quick to rebuke him for his speech. He said he
country.
was in disagreement with the
50
decision.
years ago,
And
Roe v.
he is
Wade
featuring a little bit of blowback, I think, on
decided-
both sides of the aisle, too, for how he's handling this. I mean, that's not uncommon for Biden, though.
This is, I mean, come on. He can't even ride a bike for crying out loud or walk up the stairs to Air Force One. So, I mean, like, I'm definitely not a Biden fan. Didn't vote for him, never would. He's been useless for 50 years. He's been useless. But when you're talking about things like that, then after they overturned Roe versus Wade, you have Maxine Waters on video outside inciting violence, telling them that they need to mobilize in the streets and fight this. How do you
But
want them to fight this? Attack Kavanaugh's house
but
or
Trump,
riot and burn down buildings and nobody gets charged?
yeah,
Why J6 defendants are sitting there, and Maxine Waters will never be censored for those comments. This is not the first time she's incited violence.
and what's messed up is the whole thing about the J6 committee and all that. They're saying that Trump was inciting violence, when in fact he wasn't. He
I've
wasn't.
listened to his speech multiple times that day, and he actually was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And in fact, Donald Trump knew that there was going to be problems at that time and tried to get 30,000 National Guard troop into DC, which was turned down by the DC governor and Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, they wanted to make a crisis, and they made
They
the
created
crisis.
that situation, and it's what about Ray Epps? Let's talk more about Ray Epps. Ray Epps, he's a Fed dude. He is a Fed. He was on the most wanted list, and then all of a sudden he was off when they figured out who he was. We know that Ray Epps, and he was out there inciting violence and directing people to the White House. He and coerced somebody to remove a gate. And if there are no barriers and no trespassing signs, how are you supposed to know you're trespassing? Just curious.
I don't care.
It's beyond unbelievable to me how things are. You have to treat and oh my God, they're creating so much division. It's right versus left, liberal versus conservative, Republican versus Democrat, white versus black, Asian versus black, Hispanic versus white. We're being pitted against each other by
Yep.
our own government. We need to look at our government as a child who wants its way. So when they want their way, they go to mom. Mom says no, they go to dad. Dad says no, then they start manipulating. And you have to understand that this is what our government is doing. They're manipulating you. They're manipulating you to hate somebody else. They're manipulating the right to hate the left and the left to hate the right. They're manipulating you. This is a huge manipulation because what? You need a few things in order to create a way to control your population, and one of them is to destabilize it. Another one is to starve it, i.e., all the food attacks. Another way is to scare them, i.e., we already had one pandemic, COVID-19, which wasn't all that deadly. And now President Biden, who obviously has a direct line to Miss Cleo, that psychic lady, because he's calling on that there's definitely going to be a second pandemic. How the fuck does he know that? I'm just curious. How does he know? Are you psychic, Joe? Because you can't ride a bike, you can't walk upstairs, you wander, you sniff kids,
Yeah.
but now you know that there's going to be a pandemic. Your brain doesn't fucking work, dude. I
I'm
can't.
gonna I'm going to digress here, and I just want to throw in the mention of the supposed bio labs in the Ukraine that the U.S. is involved with. Maybe somehow him and his constituents do know about another major outbreak.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I'm telling you right now, COVID-19 was pre-planned. COVID-19 was part of a plan. And the funny thing is anytime they prepare a year ahead of time for some sort of outbreak of something, which they did about a year before COVID-19 hit, and then they just did another one. So you can expect sometime this fall or this winter for another pandemic to hit. I'm sorry, that 100% is pre-planned. That's called premeditated, folks. That's premeditated. And anybody who dies from these pandemics is murdered by the elite and your governments, not just our government, but the government across the globe who's allowing this to happen. And you have Vladimir Putin, who's I'm sorry, but when he invaded Ukraine, he went for their government. He didn't go for the people. He went for the government. He went straight for him. And Zelensky, he talked a good game, said he was going to stick around. He wasn't going nowhere. He was going to stay there and fight the Russians. And where is he now? I believe he's in Poland. Yeah, he ran. He ran. The second thing the Russians went after, biolabs. While
Yep.
you were distracted with Russians over at Chernobyl, they were destroying biolabs, US biolabs in Ukraine. Why do you think our government wants to give so much funding to Ukraine? Because
Exactly.
they're
Why
building
are we throwing
commodity buildings.
billions?
Sorry.
And I love the comment right now. Our illegitimate president is a freaking traitor. I tend to agree with that. I think he's done
I'll be
nothing
honest.
besides stab America, bleed us dry for his and his party's own gain. It's a disgusting reality that we live in, that we actually elected this,
Well,
that we let this get
we
elected.
didn't. We didn't elect this. He was selected. He was selected by the elites. They cheated this in so many ways. If you watch 2000 Mules, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll see how it happened. In fact, I was talking to my mother today, and this is so funny that this got brought up, and she was like, "Oh yeah, well the Republicans cheated too. They got caught trying to crack open under Donald Trump's orders, crack open those voter boxes." I'm like, "That's not true. Where'd you hear that?
If
Where
he
did you?"
actually did that, he would be sitting in jail right now. It wouldn't be
This
a
is so
like a
crazy.
thing with court. He'd be sitting in jail right now.
If he actually did that, he'd be sitting in jail right now. You're 100% right. I told my mom that never happened. No Republicans tried to break open anything. All we want is a fair and square election, and we didn't get it. And we know that Joe Biden was not elected; he was selected, just like Zelensky, just like Trudeau, just like Macron. They're all selected. None of them are elected. When you go and vote, it's just a show at this point. Hopefully, we've got it fixed for 2022, but I think they're getting their fixes in. They don't really seem too concerned about it, do they?
No, I mean, and they're even looking at replacing Biden as like the primary candidate anyway. So you know they're not too worried about getting someone elected, and
Yeah,
that should
they're,
actually
replace,
scare people.
they're replacing dumb with dumber.
They are. They are.
I you
Like the
can't.
choices are bad all the way around. They're bad. The choices, especially for the Democratic Party, they're just awful.
Well, let me tell you what hope we do have winning the 2022 and rocking the House and the Senate red. Because at that point, Nancy Pelosi will be replaced with a Republican. Then we can impeach Biden, we can impeach Kamala Harris and put that Republican in as president, and perhaps even do a special election because it's time for this evidence to actually be looked at. And these leftist judges need to go straight to freaking hell. I'm over this. Enough is enough. Enough cheating, enough this bullshit with the New World Order. Our Constitution doesn't go along with one world government. It just doesn't. It doesn't co-mesh. That's why they're trying to turn us into this liberal, weird state, just like Europe. I don't want to be just like Europe. I want to be just like America. I want to be just like America 20 years ago. I want to be just like America 50 years ago. I want to be just like America 100 years ago. Enough of this bullshit. I don't want open borders. I don't want that. And I know I don't
Hey,
speak for
Psycho.
just myself. Yes.
We have digressed quite a bit down this rabbit trail. I
Really
think
funny.
we need to get back on Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade, y'all, is going to cause all kinds of riots and shit. It's going to start up. Plus, it's hot. People get cray cray. And especially the crazies who want to murder babies, they get extra crazy. So I
Yeah.
anticipate that it's going to be completely unpleasant for Kavanaugh and the rest of these Supreme Court justices who voted to overturn it. Now, what does that mean for everybody? What that means is the decision on abortion goes back to the states. It doesn't mean you can't have an abortion. It just means it goes back to the states. So your state people determine the rules on abortion. So,
Yep.
so that whether you can go at 14 weeks or 12 weeks or up to, but folks, come on now. When Roe versus Wade was put in, women in 1973 didn't have the options y'all have now. They had
Yep.
very poor birth control. It wasn't that effective. They didn't really know a lot about the women's reproductive systems and things like that because they focused so long on male testicles. So
And
I'm
when
just saying.
there
But
was stuff to give them, or it was hard. It was a hard thing to get back then too. So we do have to keep that in mind. But I would like to point out that I don't think a lot of these liberals going out and like freaking out over this actually read what Roe v. Wade is, or like look at the implications or how it came about or what this overturning means. They don't look at that. They're like, we have a outrage culture where these people just get outraged over the.
Well, they get their news from memes. You can't get
Yeah,
your news from memes.
no,
I mean,
you
come
have
on,
to.
folks, wake up and start reading and studying and all this other stuff. I know they're not teaching this to you in your liberal schools, and that means you go on your own and you find it and you do it on your own.
Yep,
We can't do everything for you. But the fact is Roe versus Wade shouldn't have been a federal issue to begin with. That should be on every state, whether you live in a red state or a blue state. But the fact is you all need to remember you have the morning after pill. Your I had unprotected sex pill. That means you're still going to get your period and you're not going to have a baby. You have that. You have so many different kinds of birth control. You have the pill, you have the shot, you have those sticks. You have these things, the safe IUDs now. IUDs in the 70s were not safe. IUDs now are a lot more safe than they used to be. You have all these birth control options. You don't have to rely on abortion. And honestly, these other options are a lot cheaper than having an abortion. An abortion is a surgical procedure. You have multiple
I
abortions and it can damage you permanently.
that
Go
it
ahead.
can. I don't want to sound like an asshole or anything too, but there's also the option of adoption.
There's that. There's families out there that are crying for their babies. They can't have them. And especially now, with the people who have been vaxxed who might be infertile, there's going to be even more need for those babies.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that too. And
And think about that. And
yeah,
you're going to have to, you can always look at giving birth and giving the child up for adoption. And yeah, that might be the hardest thing you go through in your life. But you might be doing something good for your child and for that baby. That child's
yeah,
going to have an amazing life with people who desperately want it. And but the
exactly.
fact
Because
is, to
there
get
are
to that
people out
point
there.
anymore, you don't even have to get to that point anymore because there's so many birth control options and they're cheap to free. And you can get them at Planned Parenthood and a sliding pay scale. You can get them at your health department. You can get all kinds of birth control. And,
Yeah,
and they've made it to the point where you can get it and you don't have to rely on abortion. Abortion should be your last defense, your very last measure after you've tried everything else. It shouldn't be, and it should be for those unfortunate victims of molestation, rape. That's what
yeah.
abortion should be for. And I know some people don't agree with abortion. Period. I'm not a fan of it. However, I'm a little bit more liberal in my views when it comes to abortion.
Well,
I
I'd
am.
like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're good.
Yeah, I am a woman. And as a woman, I can say that I don't prefer abortion over all these wonderful birth control methods that we have now. However, in extreme cases, if you need an abortion, you should have access to it. I do agree with that. But I only agree with it up to a certain point. I mean, if you got to the point where that child can survive outside of the womb and you choose to abort it, you're committing murder in my eyes. And in other people's eyes, you're committing murder from the beginning of conception.
Yeah,
So, I mean, everybody looks at this a little bit differently, and all our views are a little bit different. But I'm saying, in an extreme circumstance, you should be able to have access to that abortion. And Roe versus Wade is simply putting that access back into your state's legislature, and
yeah.
it doesn't have any federal realm,
I
and
do.
that's where that goes.
I do kind of want to circle back around to the religious aspect of this, and I would like to mention that yes, there are religious people out there that horrible things might happen to molestation, and they have babies, and they're against birth control and abortion, and if they still don't want the child, again, I want to reiterate to everyone, adoption is also an option. You don't
Yeah.
there. The important thing is there's other options out there, and it is giving power and control back to the states and back to the people who live in the states, and that's not all that much of a bad thing.
Yeah, you guys want to blame pro-lifers. Pro-lifers did that. I'm a pro-lifer. When you look at it, even though I would approve for abortion up to a certain point for certain circumstances, and the fact that you have access to all this other wonderful birth control, that yeah, I'm a pro-lifer, and it's not my fault they overturned Roe versus Wade. It's pro-choicers' fault that they overturned Roe versus Wade, and let's be clear about that. When you want to murder babies while they're still in the womb and you want the federal government to approve that, and you go to to the federal government to say, hey, and you want to change that so that you can murder babies all the way up to 28 days after they're born, i.e., California, and you want to look at New York for partial birth abortion. And I'm talking about full term babies being ripped apart in the birth canal. When you want the federal government to approve that and you don't think that there's going to be pushback, you're wrong. You should not be allowed to murder your baby 28 days after it's born. You know what? Your baby is a baby. It's a life. It's breathing at that point. So
I
even some of you pro-choicers who think that that's okay, you're wrong. That's murder. It's murder to murder an infant. It's murder.
I do
It's
want to
murder. It's murder
bring.
to murder a baby on its way out of the womb in the birth canal, to rip it to shreds. What a horrible death. They feel pain. That is a human, and you're taking life. That's wrong. I'm off my soapbox. We can't talk about that anymore. I'm going to get
I do want
emotional.
to bring up a interesting topic on this though. Before we get off this topic, it just a small side jot here. Uh, Florida's ban on abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy violates religious freedom of Jews because Jewish law requires the procedure in some cases. A Boynton Beach synagogue said in a lawsuit. So a Jewish synagogue is actually suing Florida over strict abortion policies. Just an interesting thing I just read here on Reuters.
Well, there's a separation between religion and state. So,
Yeah.
regardless of what their religious belief is, 15 weeks is their cutoff. That's when it is. And I think 15 weeks is too long, in my opinion. Most of the time, when you miss your first period. Now, in most cases, there are some women whose periods are a little bit off. They're not
Yeah.
regular. They miss a period here and there. Um, Usually, it's due to STDs and things like that. But what else? We can talk about that.
All right.
I don't know. That's my assumption. I don't. That's not medical fact. I don't know. That was my opinion. I'm being rude. Rude. So rude. Anywho, with all that being said, I just everybody's got an opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. And the fact is are any of us right? Probably not, because there is no right in this. There really isn't. If you really look at it, there's no right. It's not right to murder
Oh
life.
my God.
It's not right to deny people the autonomy of their body. But the fact is that women are the bearer of children. And if you know that going in as a woman, that you can get pregnant if you have sex, it's kind of your responsibility to make sure that you protect yourself from becoming pregnant if that's not what you want.
Yeah. Just a little tidbit here. Washington, D.C. bridge shut down after man scales 1,400-foot structure to protest Roe v. Wade overturning. He has a green smoke grenade he lit, a giant flag, and
They've released the
it's already
loonies.
happening.
They have
That,
released the loonies. And
yep.
if they start rioting, folks, we're going to come back live.
Did
Um,
Soros bust this guy in?
Yeah, if they do start rioting, we will come back live to discuss it, and to discuss how long it'll take before our government decides to not charge these people with any crimes, yet continue persecuting J6 defendants.
Oh my God, businesses are going to burn. It's going to be crazy. I'm kind of predicting that this is going to get way out of hand. Just the way the political climate in America is in right now, this is going to escalate and escalate and escalate. This is not going to be good.
It would have
Keep
been
an eye on your
smarter. It,
telegrams. Keep an eye on your feeds, and just keep your eyes open. It's going to pop.
it would have been smarter to overturn Roe versus Wade in like January or February.
Why is that?
Cold.
I don't think that's going to stop them, especially if you're getting paid for it.
You get heavy snow in those months. It's cold, below zero a lot of times. I don't think they're going to be going out and looting stores in the amount of people that they will in the summertime. I'm just putting that out there. They could have waited to January or February and overturned it. That they decided to do it now is sketchy to me. I would have done it
Yeah.
because they knew it was going to cause a backlash, aftermath, or as I like to say, the afterbirth. And they knew this was going to happen. I'm like, life is nothing but a strategy game. It's about sitting here trying to figure out what your next move is going to be, what that next move could cause, and the repercussions of that move. So you think that they weren't thinking about that?
I
Come
want
on.
to circle. So someone in the comments said, "How much you want to bet the churches are going to burn?" Yeah, there's a good possibility, especially how religiously charged this whole issue seems to be right now. I I hope not, but
There
at the
has
same
to
time,
be a
from history,
separation. We
if
have
if
to keep
you have a
the
church,
separation. It's not the churches. It's not the churches that did it. That's the thing. Why burn churches? It's you guys, you pro-choicers. You pro-choicers did this. Nobody else did this. You guys did this by wanting more. When we give an inch, you want a mile. I'm sorry. I can't even with that. Like, you burn churches, you are a horrible human being. You loot stores, you're a horrible human being. You attack people because you don't like the way that they think, you're a horrible person. You need to look at yourself and look at the things that you want. When you want to murder babies on their way out of the womb, you did this. When you
they're
want to murder
literally
babies 28 days after their birth, you did this. Nobody else did this. The church didn't do it.
these crazies are like the rioters and stuff. They are literally the modern day fascists. Back in like the 1920s and 30s, when like the fascist party was gaining power in Germany, they're doing the same thing. They were going around and beating up other political groups because they didn't agree with them, and other and not just political groups, mind you. This was also the Nazis we're talking about. But
It- It's a complete
they're
outrage. All of it. It's just an outrage. I'm so
yeah,
sick of this. And I'm so mad that they dropped all the charges on these Antifas. They sat there, they blocked cops into a building and tried to set it on fire. No charges? Are you effing kidding me? Like, what the fuck kind of alternate reality? And I just want to point out that we've done a show on alternate realities. I feel like I've left my actual reality and I'm living in some dystopian weirdness that I just can't. When you're allowing your kids to go to drag shows, and I just see like the United States as a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. I honestly see it that way. There is so much dissolution of morality. You walk around in public half naked with all your goods hanging out, and you don't want people to hoot on you or Google eyes at you and shit like that. Well, then put some clothes on. Have some respect for your body. Have some respect for your soul and yourself. Cover yourself. I'm like,
try
we're
modesty for a change.
we're sex sells. We sell cars based on half naked women, and w- wake up, y'all, because literally we're descending into madness. This is a descent into darkness, and I don't want to go. I like my normal life. I just want to be. I just want to be here,
Yep. I
alive, with people with morals, people who cover themselves, people who speak with kindness and respect, people who are send you messages with, 3 letters that's like supposed to represent a whole sentence. I mean, come on. What happened to communicating? When we quit communicating with each other, we quit respecting each other. There's no respect anymore. People don't respect other people's lives, other people's property, other people's morals, other people's religions, other people's thought processes. I don't have to agree with you, but I still respect you. I don't have to agree with a pro-choicer. I don't. I don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to agree with me.
But
But
we
at the
do
end of
have
the
to
day,
have
we have
mutual
respect
respect.
for each other.
Yep.
Absolutely, we need to respect each other, and that's something that's missing in this society. Is there's a complete lack of respect, and I know I'm guilty of it because when I come on this show, the first thing I say is Donald Trump is still my president, and every show I will batter Joe Biden because honestly, he's a piece of shit. He's the biggest piece of shit out there, and I can't believe anybody would have voted for him. I can't
He's
believe
not
anybody
a
would have voted for him and Kamala Harris together. I'm like, that's like literally electing Dumb and Dumber. I like literally can't with any of it.
It's like Beavis and Butthead at the White House.
Lord have mercy. I'm cornholio on the tippy for my bloody hole. That's me doing my Beavis and Butthead impression. Sorry, guys.
You're having too much fun with this right now.
This is a
Okay.
comedy slash news and politics.
All right. Topic change here. Are you ready?
Maybe.
The White House is mulling over sending U.S. fighter jets to the Ukrainians.
No, absolutely not. We already gave all kinds of equipment to Afghaniland. How much more fucking shit can we afford to give away?
Well, it depends on, if Nancy Pelosi needs a new house or not. She has her hands dipped in that stuff.
Screw that Nancy Pelosi. Oh yeah, her and her husband have money with the people who make the Javelin missiles.
Yeah.
The parts her husband is got big money in. Yeah. Javelin missiles, folks. The ones that we've been sending to Ukraine that our government is paying for. So our government is paying our government to send Javelin missiles. Explain that shit to me and how that actually can work.
I
Yeah,
want to make it
no,
clear here.
no.
I
No
support.
fighter jets. What you know what? Tell Ukraine to go to Afghanistan and get the shit that Biden left there and
Yeah,
bring
save
home
us
the
the
rest of
gas.
our people.
Save
Yeah,
us
go.
the gas.
It's fucking
But
ridiculous. Just like going to the Saudis to beg for oil. Yeah, oh man, why are you putting us on our knees, dude? Just because you fall down all the time doesn't mean we want to be on our knees.
right?
No. Open up Keystone, douchebag. Restart that. Force these goddamn companies to start fucking pumping.
That makes too much sense. That makes too much sense. And I'm just wondering if we have all this stuff to give away, why our military budget is so high.
If we have all this stuff to give away, explain to me why we got to take money away from American veterans and give it to these illegals pouring over our borders, invading our country.
Yeah, exactly. Why aren't we
Right. We
taking care of
can't.
our people? You
Not giving
know,
shit to Ukraine. I'm sick of them sending our money to
you know
Ukraine.
what? If they want it so bad, they can take out a loan and buy it.
There you go.
Buy it from us. I'm cool with that. If they bought it from us, sure.
Yeah, call
Don't give
JP
it.
Morgan, Vladimir Zelensky, you fucking vampire of life. Call JP Morgan and the Rothschilds and see if they'll help you out, dude. Because seriously, America, we don't want to help you.
It's
Yeah,
already
that's
paid
your
for though.
problem. You want to tweak Vladimir Putin's nose, and then you don't want to pay the piper? Not our problem. Not our war. Doesn't affect the United States in any way. We should not be involved in any way. We should not be sending money. We definitely should not be sending Javelin missiles, and we certainly should never send them any heavy equipment. It's not our problem.
Yep.
We need to round up all the terrorists they've allowed over the southern border for the last year and a half. Yeah.
It's a bad, stressful situation all the way around. Like any
Oh
way
my
you look
God.
at it, north, south, east, or west, it's rough. It's really rough right now. And I think Americans need to really come together right now instead of just picking each other apart. We're only stronger together, guys.
No, because they're falling for the mainstream media. They're pitting you against each other. I've said it at the beginning of the show. They need to destabilize our population. They need to create this. This is all destabilization, including the Roe versus Wade. To overturn Roe versus Wade, another way to destabilize. Why do you think they did it in the middle of summer? Honestly, everything is strategy. Everything that they do in Washington D.C. is strategy. If they didn't want this to happen, they would have overturned it in January or February when it's colder, when it's harder to get out to to assault police officers and burn buildings and loot Macy's. It's a lot colder, so you have less intense reaction as you are having now. January or February, it's historically cold. That's when you do it. It's strategy, folks. They're pitting you against each other. Pro-choice versus pro-life, white versus black, Christian against Jew, or Christian against atheist. At the end of the day, all they're doing is destabilizing our population and creating a sense where nobody feels safe. Why? They need you scared. COVID-19 didn't scare you enough, folks. They
Nope.
need to scare you some more so they can usher in their globalism. No, 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 no. Stand up, y'all.
Oh, now
It's
we're having salmonella outbreaks. CDC tells public to not kiss or snuggle chickens, ducks, or backyard poultry
don't,
amid salmonella outbreak.
Lord have mercy, or just wash your freaking hands. Come
Yeah,
on.
wash your hands, be clean, take proper hygiene, take it seriously.
I haven't worried about salmonella outbreaks in years, honestly. First off, I'm not going to go and grab somebody's duck and kiss it. I'm just not that about that life. I'm like, and who wants to kiss a fucking chicken?
He'd probably try to sniff it.
I mean, yeah, but we're talking about Joe Biden. You don't have to warn the rest of the population over something you want to warn Joe Biden about. CDC, just send a memo to the White House. Let his Secret Service know. We don't need those things. Well, maybe we do. We probably should. I mean, there are people out there who would fucking kiss some animals. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and whatever you
There-
guys do when the chicken lays an egg, do not lick it as soon as it comes out of the butt. Wash it first.
okay.
Yeah, just wash
Oh,
it first, y'all, because you don't know. I don't even know. Do like chickens have an egg hole and a butthole, like, or does it come out the poop chute?
I think they have a cloaca.
A who?
Uh, a cloaca.
A cloaca? Okay, they have an egg hole. They have an
Eh,
egg chute and a poop chute, is what you're telling me.
I think so, or I think it's all in one. I think that's what makes it a cloaca.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Please, people of YouTube, do not quote me on this. I am not a biologist, nor a
I
farmer.
I want to put this out here how lucky birds are because they can fly and shit at the same time. They're lucky. I mean, how wonderful would it be if you could just walk around and shit and nobody cared? You just walk, drop a log,
Well,
boom.
no, people care, on their cars, or in the really bad instance where you're snorkeling and it goes down the snorkel.
Mm, that would suck. Who's that? Has that ever happened to you? I'm like, oh my God. That would be
No.
like
Oh,
the
no,
you'd be
no.
more likely to win the lottery than to have that happen.
Yeah,
I just
thankfully, I
feel
think it's a
like the odds are,
hypothetical.
yeah, the odds are not in your favor, young Padawan.
No.
I'd like the thought. Do you remember when we were in the
Oh,
Bahamas and we went
I
snorkeling?
got
That was so fun.
I got something for you. Putin is squeezing gas supplies, and Europe is getting seriously worried about a total shutdown. I just read somewhere yesterday that Putin told Europe to prepare for a total shut off here
Nah,
soon.
yeah,
So,
keep fucking with Vladimir, dudes.
hey,
Keep
thank
fucking
you,
with that
Biden,
man.
for the federal gas tax cut. That 14 cents really, made the difference, and I think it's going to raise up quite a bit again. We already broke one, like the big record, correct?
Yeah. We've blown all the records in history.
Yeah.
I
And,
mean,
and hey,
Biden is keeping his campaign promises. He's definitely making changes, y'all. I just don't know if we're gonna like them.
yeah, I don't think so. I
I
don't
mean,
think anyone's gonna like him.
I would like to do a poll. How many Biden voters regret their decision now and wish they would have put that ballot on Trump? I just want to know anybody who listens to this show that voted for Biden, how are you feeling now? Just I don't want to make fun of you or anything like that. I just really want to know. I want to hear your perspective. So by all means, put it in the comments or you can always send me an email at icoandpsycho@gmail.com. I mean, it's just that simple. I would love to get your insight, maybe even have you on the show. In no way, shape, or form to downgrade you or anything. We're not going to degrade you. We just want to ask you some
Did
questions.
you
Hi.
say downgrade?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I just want to ask you some questions about that and why you voted for him to begin with and why you changed your mind and who you think you might vote for in the next elections coming up. You don't have to tell me who you're going to vote for. I'm going to ask you and you could just say, I like to keep that to myself or we could talk about it. If you're from Michigan, we could even talk about Michigan politics, how you like in Ryan Kelly or Tudor Dixon or Garrett Soldano versus Gretchen Whitmer. Um, I would love to hear from you. Anyway, so if you'd
Really
like to
quick
do
on
that,
that, though. Really quick on that, I would like to have you guys hit the like, subscribe, share, and the bell notification icon. And we are watching the chats too. So if you guys want us to talk about something, just post it in the chat. We can have that conversation.
Absolutely. And I think it's about time to end this show. But
It
we
is. We're
will.
about 40 minutes in. I think it's a good first run.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today for the Everyday Talks with Aiko and Psycho. This is the Just Psycho edition. And I want to thank you for this is our inaugural episode. So my first one on my own, and I'm giving it a test run. And if they do start rioting and stuff, we will come back live and discuss the riots in what cities. We'll have some news sources and things like that to really go over. So stick around, and I'll be posting a lot more content now. We're looking at about 3 times per week plus our Sunday episode. So any topics you want me to talk about on just my episode, let me know. I'll talk about pretty much anything. I'll talk about pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be politics. It could be anything. So just put it in that in the comment section, or again, email me at um Ico and Psycho@gmail.com. Super easy. And I hope to hear from you guys soon. Sorry about that. I'm getting hoarse. I talked long enough. I know one of my favorite podcasters is Tori Maris, and she goes for 2 and 3 hours, and I don't know how she does it. But another one of my favorite podcasters is Pastor Tom Labley. And I get a lot of my stuff from Pastor Tom, and I get a lot of my stuff from Tori Maris. And if you look her up, you'll find out who she is, but she's a CIA whistleblower. Let me put it to you there. But I listen to her podcast and I get a lot of information, and I would recommend those people to you. And we'll be starting to post these episodes also on Rumble, as long as we have the ability to record, which we'll be testing here now. And again, thank you for joining us, and we will be back either today or in another couple of days, and we'll put up our schedule here in the next day or two on our podcasting schedule. And let me know what dates and times work for you too. Give me some input. Let me know what you want. Thanks for joining us, and end.